Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this webcast, Navigating Future of Learning, Innovations in Customer Education and Employee Development for Growth, sponsored and presented by Invince, formerly Upside LMS. This webcast has been pre-approved for 1 HRCI and 1 SHRM credit, so please be sure to attend the complete webcast in order to receive the credits. You'll receive an email from hr.com within 2 business days that will include the certification information. All right, it is now my absolute pleasure to turn it over to Amit Gautam.
Thank you, Rhonda. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to kind of share my views on this topic today. And I kind of hope to cover a few parts of how learning is being changing in the field of customer education and even the employee development, and how it is helping companies plan their growth and execute their growth strategies. So my name is Amit. I'm the CEO of the company Invince. We were formerly known as Upside LMS, learning management solution for the last 2 decades. We've been leading the world with our solutions. We have a number of customers across the world. And today I want to focus on 2 things. One is, of course, the key application of an LMS is where it helps employees learn, develop their talent and skills, and align with the business goals of the company. And another, which is a really interesting observation, which has been kind of, I would say in the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen increase as a strategy point for a lot of businesses is, can they also use these technologies to help their customers, with the education of the system they are using from our customers. So, because a lot of software companies, a lot of other kind of companies, when they have customers, the key success of their engagement depends on how well the customers are able to use the solutions. And of course, traditionally they used to have a training, kind of a pack or initial training and handholding, and then maybe on-demand training. But I think technology, of course, does help reach out to a lot of people. And the pandemic did kind of make it imperative for companies to be able to use the solutions, digital solutions, far more, in a far more pressing manner. So we'll talk about that today. I have been involved with the learning technologies and learning solutions for over 2 decades now. I have a fair amount of experience in this field. Plus, I've learned a lot from our customers, from our teams, from our partners in this field. So I do hope to bring some of that to the table today. I look forward to a very interactive session. I'll be happy to answer all the questions, learn from those questions today. And as you move on, please, feel free to, put in your questions in the chat window, and we'll take them up as and when we can. So just to give a little bit of a background of the company, we run here. So we have a large number of customers, almost 250 plus customers worldwide, across the world. Our customers use our solution for multiple use cases. Of course, the L&D or internal L&D of the employees is the primary one. But of course, it has now also been augmented by the use cases of customer education, then using training as a business, selling training as a business, and then sales training, in onboarding, induction, multiple scenarios. We have always been very proud that we have produced and developed solutions which are award worthy. We have a number of awards and recognitions to our name. They speak to our focus on what we want to deliver to our customers. Our commitment to making customers excel in their field. And over, across these customers, we have, I would say this number is now changing, but we have more than 2.5 million users on our system today. It keeps changing. We add roughly 100,000 users every month or so. So that number should change very fast. We bring a lot of experience, 19 plus years of experience in learning domain itself. And of course, we have a lot of partners, and we have been able to work, fortunately, across many industries, from airlines to pharma to healthcare to any number of industries. So that's who we are. The awards itself, the list of the awards itself kind of, tells a lot about the kind of focus we bring to our solutions. So before we move on to the agenda of the webinar today, I would like to kind of have a small poll conducted just to kind of have some context to what we're going to discuss. And if you could run the poll now, that'll be really good. The poll should appear on your screens now. A key element in effectively managing customer education. I thank you everyone for the voting, and I see the results here. I think yes, it does align with a lot of that aligns with what we normally see. So the number here for the third option, offering support for continuous learning, it is 21%. I think it is the third highest in this poll. But in my experience, this has been on a rise. Because a lot of companies, especially in the last 4 years, and as all of you would experience, almost every company has gone through a kind of a wave of attritions and new people joining their teams, and hence whoever comes in, they have to understand and learn the systems they're using, and the vendors of those systems, they have the responsibility to be able to train or educate the customer users, new users. And because it was almost continuously happening, so at least for the last 3 to 4 years, I can see, and I know from my discussions that the demand for continuous learning is on the rise, because they want customers, they want the training to be available almost all throughout, so they can just go and access. And that is where the tools like LMS or any other technology, they can really help in making that available. And of course, I think all the other options are aligned with what we have been seeing. And so I think I'm really kind of aligned with what we are looking at the audience today. So I do hope to make it a very engaging session and learning session for myself, and please feel free to ask any questions as we go along. All right. So we, kind of, what we say here is kind of we have tried to concise all our experiences and learnings in what we see in both the domains of customer education and employee development. And we have tried to look at the macro trends, so the overall what is happening, how are the things changing, are we able to adapt to these changes as solution providers, and as a customer or an end user, what are the various things you should be looking at. Some of these are also our learnings from best practices over the companies. And so I think and the reason why I have put these 4 points for both the customer education and employee development, even though they are different use cases, is that end of the day, the learning is being kind of it is being delivered to an employee or a team member or a person. And when we look at learning from their perspective, it more or less is very similar, even if the use case is either sales training or onboarding or just self development or upskilling or reskilling, and even if it is learning a system or a process from a different provider. So in our view, I think the number one trend which I believe is kind of taking root and is steadily increasing is the demand for personalized learning. Over the years, and of course pandemic has just kind of been a catalyst to this, but over the years there is a constant demand that learning has to be both democratized and also it has to be personalized. So a lot of control and authority and responsibility is being given to the learners themselves to be able to not just understand what they need, also demand what they need, and then being able to use the technology available to them to organize all their learning requirements in the way they want to learn. Plus also looking at the kind of learning styles or the way people learn. So today learners are able to demand that they need learning in a particular format, in a particular form and sequence, and on a particular kind of schedule and kind of order. So I think So personalized learning across both the domains of employee development and customer education, it has been a key macro trend for us. And it also involves, kind of, I think this has led to a kind of a development of tools like, I think, say LXP, or like deeper search or AI based search to find the right programs, either for a role or for a project or for an initiative or for an objective, or just for a task at hand. So I think that has been one of the major outcomes of personalized learning, is that the systems have to adapt to be able to deliver learning as demanded by the learners, and not necessarily only the training administrators or the training function people. So learning is now, as a responsibility and an action, is being transferred to the employees or to the learners themselves. And that's a big change, from early on, when there has to be a department to define what to learn, when to learn. It has now become almost, I would not say 100% gone to learners, but a large part of that is now being driven by the learners and their self awareness of what they need to do, how they need to upskill and reskill in their job and profile. Now, when it comes to personalized learning, the next kind of I would say an outcome or a kind of entailing trend we have seen is that uh, it is no more acceptable to be having a kind of a single form of learning, or maybe just the classroom training or a virtual classroom training. The learners are demanding that the learning systems adapt to the way they want to learn. Some people learn better on mobile phones. Some people learn better on, let's say, through videos. Some people learn better through a classroom environment. Some people learn better with peer-to-peer learning or a social environment. So I think it is become very critical and important for learning to be able to blend, where the tools available are able to uh, offer a mix of learning modes. It could be, let's say, videos, or long videos, short videos. Could be just documents, could be access to a community or a discussion forum, or multiple other things like that. Now it also kind of gives the learners flexibility to be able to access learning content at their own convenience and at their own schedule and plan. And that's why it is important that we look at a kind of a model where not everything is classroom training per se, or even virtual classroom model, where there's a lot of on-demand availability of learning content. And to make this, to be able to leverage the strength of various modes of learning, it is also critical that the systems are able to create an environment where you can mix and match multiple formats of learning, multiple modes of learning, to create a full plan for a learner. And I think if you link it up with the first trend of personalized learning, the learner should be able to go to the system, any system, a learning system, and then define their plan and kind of pick and choose from various available learning content and create their own learning journeys. So blended learning does help in multiple scenarios, especially for customer education, where the vendor or the supplier cannot always conduct classroom trainings, but could do a mix of other modes of learning. This is a very useful way of delivering learning, to the end users. And especially in customer education, the learners do not really have a lot of time, because this is not going to be a part of their key process area. They are just using the system to enable their work. So they want a very quick, and and each learner would need kind of be able to access system very quickly in the way they want it to be there. So videos is a very good example of that. So system training videos, or quick videos of a kind of a trainer capturing some system features or modules and delivering a video to the users, but also then mixing it with a quick assessment, or maybe some documents which can be referred to at a later point in time. All of these become very important to blend learning and deliver to the learners. So I think when we talk to our customers, or new customers, a lot of them, in fact all of them, they're looking at systems which do have the flexibility and the ability to be able to blend learning across multiple modes of for learning. So this itself becomes a very big, kind of factor for how the learning systems are deployed, in these days today. And I think the third one, which we have kind of been observing for a long time now, and it has been there. It's not a new development; it's been there for a long time. But I think as we are looking at the newer generations of learners coming in, the newer devices being used for learning access. It also, and of course, there's been a lot of talk about learners' attention span or other things, learning styles. But I think more than that, it is just the nature of work today and the kind of time, and more than attention span, the kind of time people have to kind of spend on training in the flow of work. Micro learning is becoming a very big, I would say, enabler for not disrupting the work of flow, the flow of work, yet delivering the right amount of training at the right amount of time, to the learners. So, if I have something, let's say I have to do a learning piece today, I may not have maybe even half an hour to do that. But if something comes to me, like for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or it's, kind of, it's like a nudge comes to me in the morning or at some time, or I'm able to just quickly go and just, access a small piece of content. It could be in any form. I think that kind of makes it easier for learners to be able to plan and also access learning in a much, I would say, convenient manner. And they don't even otherwise, they feel forced to plan and schedule the training. They need an hour for that, and then I think it becomes a big, I would say, detrimental factor for learners to plan that. So they might, kind of push it to a later date. It may not be relevant by then. So micro learning is really helping, kind of learners, and both, the systems align in that philosophy where the time is of essence, yet learning is critical. And I think a good blend of that is, being able to deliver smaller piece of learning. Now bite-sized learning, the quantum and I think the size depends on each, company, how they define that. It also depends on the process, or the learning content. Some learning content may not be, able to go below, let's say, 5 minutes or 3 minutes of video. Some maybe even some seconds of videos. So I think it all depends on the context and the content. But the flexibility for the learners to be able to access things very quickly without spending too much time in the flow of their work, I think that really is a big thing, and it is something which the learners are constantly asking for. And as system providers, we also see a lot of that increasing as a trend. The last one, put up here is, of course, gamification. Now, I think using games as a very engaging way of learning has been around for a long time now. But the idea of actually gamifying the whole context or the environment also, is on the rise steadily, where not just the learning content is kind of a game, but the entire approach or the entire ecosystem or the entire process of learning has kind of become gamified in a way that, learners are able to link some rewards and recognition to the overall process. A lot of learning does happen when either the learner is motivated on their own to learn something, either for improvement in their work, or they just want to learn something as a new skill. But a lot of times learning also, is encouraged by the use of, as simple as, kind of a nominal competition with other people. So you create some sort of competition, you incentivize and reward learners for the kind of learning they're doing in the system or otherwise. And you kind of, slowly and slowly build a culture of learning by, of course, rewards and recognition does become a big part of the entire process. But gamification is more about understanding the motivational, factors behind learning, and being able to, make sure that there is some incentive to learners to constantly learn. See, in the end, if the culture of learning is becoming stronger, if employees are learning the things on a constant manner, I think as an overall, the company becomes really strong. Because what we have seen in the last 4 years or 3.5 4 years is that when it comes to any crisis or any disruption of a scale we have seen in the last 3 years, what really defines a company's success and their survival is the agility of the person or the team to respond, and the strength of of their I would say skills at that point in time. And they may not have a lot of time at that point at that point to learn new things and suddenly kind of adapt and upskill to that level. So I think a constant process of learning is really critical to not just survive but to grow in today's times. And hence gamification plays a very big role in making sure that the overall the entire ecosystem is set up to encourage people to learn, and for themselves also, and overall for the business also. So if you combine all of these four trends, we see a very I would say a very smooth and aligned kind of a context here, which is you incentivize people to learn, but while doing so you also give them the accountability and responsibility to learn, which is when you personalize their learning, because today's learners don't want to go to a system and just kind of go through something they've already done or they don't need to do, and the system does not know that they don't need to do those things. So by personalizing learning, we are able to filter out irrelevant things, and we only keep relevant things for each learner, and those things are different for different learners. So the learner feels engaged with the system at a very high level. And then incentivization or gamification helps them to have some motivation of why they do that. In addition to upskilling, they also get additional rewards and benefits from doing that, even if there are psychological benefits of being a leader in that team or being a leader in that location or department. But it does, I think, give them a lot of a push and a lot of positive I would say reinforcement to go back and learn again and again. And in the process we help create a learning culture overall. And while doing so, we have to also understand that not all the learning content could be long form, because not all of them may have time to go through the content, at any point in time. So they also need to mix micro learning as a good tool, and create a stream of continuous content which goes to learners. And in addition to that, if you're able to also blend learning while doing all of that on demand, we might also have a few classroom sessions for human connect, or virtual classroom sessions for remote people, and then giving them an option to learn on demand either through videos, other things, assessments, and social learning, peer learning, communities. I think that's really helpful. So that's kind of our take on what we are seeing as the trends in both customer education and employee development. Now, in customer education, it might look like that not all of these are very important, but I think what we have to understand here is that end of the day, it is the learner who is consuming the learning content, and for them the use case is not really very relevant. They are doing it for their upskilling or doing it for a system they want to learn. End of the day, everything they learn is to help them do their either work better or to work with their team better, or to move forward in a positive direction in alignment with the business goals. So I think both of these domains do have similar trends we are seeing in the industry today from our perspective. So before I move to kind of a quick case study, I have a couple of questions which I would like to take. So for micro learning, what time length is most digestible? What length do you recommend? I think I did answer that in my presentation here, that the length of the learning content, there is no standard length of a micro learning content. It all depends on the content, the objective, and also the context of what it is being used for. So it might range from even as short as maybe 25-30 seconds video to maybe even a 5 minute video, depending on the modularity of the content it is delivering. So there is no standard length which can be used. And I think the pursuit of a length or a standard length of micro learning may not be very productive from that perspective. what tips we have for encouraging customers to access the video we versus asking individual questions. I think this can be looked at from a gamification perspective. That I think more than a focus on kind of learning content access. I think the attempt for the company has to be to create a learning culture, and that is a complex set of factors. I think one of the big factors for there is how do you make people understand and learn. I mean, how do you make people kind of understand the criticality and the benefits of learning? So once you're able to inculcate that kind of habit into your team members, I think they will be very encouraged to overall learn. And when they're doing that, then yes, then you can help them with the right content form, the right blending of learning, to make sure that everybody is able to experience the system in a very convenient manner. So I think that is where it will be very helpful there. All right, so moving on, just a kind of a quick case study. We have a customer in US, Model N, a public software company, and they have of course they had the typical challenges. When they were scaling up, they have so many customers around the world, large customers, and they have a very complex system with multiple modules and features. And they had a very a set of typical challenges where they were the customers they were not able to use their software correctly because of the complexity. And hence of course when that happens, the first thing which happens with the provider like us is the support cost increases for the solution provider, because customers will just pass everything as a support ticket, that this is not working, I'm not able to do this. And this increases the cost of supporting a customer or multiple customers. And I think the bigger threat is that if more and more customers are not able to use the software properly for whatever reasons, then there would be a challenge in retention of the customers, also a challenge in growing the customer base. And even the reference of these customers may not be very positive for the new customers or new prospects, about because sometimes customers are unable to use the system well, so they are not sure if if the system is being designed well in that sense, and their feedback to other customers may not be very positive, hence a loss of business, let's say, to our customers. So these are challenges they were facing. And they have they used our system, and any LMS with a set of features which we have kind of used for their use case would have helped them. And so what they did was, of course, with the LMS, they were able to create a very personalized experience for each customer. So every customer had their own kind of a portal to the system, and depending on which modules they have taken from our customer, they would get access to the content for those modules. And they also were able to personalize that access to a large extent. Typically or technically in the system, you can create even learner or employee wise personalized access if the customer is willing to work on that. And I think they were also able to link that to the subscription model, where either at a cost or even if it's a free service in the beginning, they were able to kind of include this as a big value add to their offering, that we will give you a lifetime or whatever, till you are with us, and access to our on-demand learning tools and content. And I think that gives a lot of confidence to the customers and customers, that even if their teams change, new people come into the system, they will be able to quickly onboard new people, or when upgrades happen or systems change, they will have access to the new training content very fast. So it reduces their downtime and they're also able to use the system very well. So I think this does kind of create a very good value add for the customers, the end customers. And I'm sure it helped our customer Model N increase their attention, and also the engagement and the experience with the customer. So this is, I think, a very good use case of how a tool like an LMS, but it has to have a lot of have to have the right features to kind of create this ecosystem for the end customers. But yes, and a tool like LMS can create a very easy to use, and also enables experience, customer experience for the end customer. So before we move on to the next one, I think we have one more poll which kind of we have to run and understand which L&D strategy should be preferred to future-proofing employees. How do you make your employees, of course, future-proof in terms of whatever happens tomorrow in the business environment? How do you make sure that your team is able to adapt to that? All right, we have the results here. I think almost 85% say all of the above, and I think that's a clear indicator of yes. I think everybody does understand that all of these are critical. Because we talked about the blending learning, we talk about personalization. I think all of these factors play a big role, and hence all of the above are definitely they're going to be really required to future proof our employees from learning perspective. So we'll take one more case study. This case study was more from customer education perspective, where our customer is using our system for their customers, and it's a software company, so they have a large software they deliver to their customers, so they have to train them continuously on that. The next one is a good example of how things happen at scale. And ISS, it's a global company. I think today they have about 77, 78 countries, a large number of employees, almost half a million and plus. And when we started working with them, they only had one team use our system, and then it quickly grew to their global locations. Multiple portals and multiple languages, multiple HRMS system integration. So despite the scale, or irrespective of the scale, the challenges the L&D was facing was still what a company of that size would face. So because they were a large company and they had offices across the world, so they were not having a very strong centralized training or learning process for all of these offices. So there are a lot of things which happen at a country level, which is at that country level. But ISS as a group, they also have a lot of values they want to deliver to their all the offices. They have a lot of let's say education for their own employees, which they would like employees to have across anywhere in the world, which is global values and global processes which they want people to adopt. So they had a lack of centralized training for those things. And while doing that, they were also, they wanted a centralized yet kind of a decentralized structure where they have some global activities which happen in learning, but they also want to give flexibility to their individual countries or individual offices to be able to manage their own learning in the way they find fit for that location or that context. So these two challenges were there with ISS, and how we helped them solve it was that we kind of the system has been able to scale up with their requirement, and each country typically has a portal which is decentralized, yet it connects to a central console which the global team uses. And with this structure, they're able to deliver both global programs and also localized programs for the employees in a very organized manner. And each country could also then create their own programs which are customized to their context. And of course it does did help them reduce their training cost, and efficiency went up very significantly. And they scaled up very fast with the system. They put almost everybody on our system in a couple of years, and I think the results which they got from that were really impressive. They and they're a very, I would say, voracious user of our system. There are a number of completions and learners and the way they use. They're an example in the learning field. How to use the tools, all the right tools for delivering learning and development, content to their employees. And I think the focus they have in that is really, really impressive. But having a tool or a technology like an LMS which can scale up to that level is very critical for businesses at that of that size. So we have worked with businesses of almost every size, from like a small growing setup of 100 people to as large as ISS of 500,000 users. So I think, but what we have seen is what we have observed is the focus of L&D remains the same, is efficient and quick access to learning content, and also like they have decentralized access, which means they also want to personalize the training content to the learners. So I think those things remain the same across a small and a large company. Only thing which changes is the complexity and the workflows and the kind of processes which are involved, but otherwise the key or the root areas remain the same. Okay, I think with that, we come to a very interesting part of the webinar, which is the AI, or what is really happening with AI, and what is the impact of AI in the L&D. And I think with the Chat GPT release in November, one of the, I think I would say, the only areas of discussion around anything today is how AI or Chat GPT or tools like that are and will disrupt the space. There's a lot of talk about these tools becoming replacing some skills, not replacing some skills, or making some things redundant. So I think that can debate will continue forever. We will keep seeing the impact of AI in multiple fields. On one hand, it might create some disturbances, or it may have some kind of benefits. But on the other hand, it will also, even create jobs, new kind of roles and skills. New businesses will come up because of that. So then there'll be a new natural balance which will come in some time. But the key thing is that it is really disruptive in nature. While AI has been there in some form or the other before ChatGPT, but I think ChatGPT is a kind of a very big milestone in how AI tools are now looking to develop and moving forward. And like even us in our systems and other systems, we have seen AI has been used a lot to analyze a large amount of data and kind of create personal recommendations or personalized kind of I would say like a persona for a learner. So the AI helps systems understand their learners at a more personal level because of the data they analyze. But I think AI has now become very different from what it used to be. And if you mix and you're able to use AI in things like, let's say, VR and AR and even chatbots, I think they have become really, really powerful, really strong. And for us as businesses, they have really become very powerful tools. And in the context of L&D, and of course, we can talk all day about AI and other things. But if we narrow our focus to L&D and how AI kind of is helping there, I think one thing is we have seen is very smart and intelligent chatbots. So chatbots have been there for a long time, but they were all programmed, and they were, I would say, not rigid but very static in the way they delivered their the information. And AI is now making them more human, or human like, where they don't have to be pre-programmed for everything. They learn on their own, and they can talk like a human. They can understand a broken language. They can understand slangs or abbreviations. They can understand a colloquial question format. And I think that makes them very, very smart, because they do not force a learner to remember what to ask a chatbot. They make the interaction very free and very flexible, so I can just start a conversation, and in the process I can learn something, or I can ask the chatbot to find me something. I don't have to rely on the options given by the chatbots, or remembering the menu and then wait for a fixed menu, and then kind of be constrained in my interaction. I think today's chatbots, they just leave it to you to decide what you want to do with that, and you can start with the conversation. And I think the best thing is, if they have a strong AI engine in the back end, they will learn about you, and everything you are talking to them will help them learn your thing, and they can store this context for a long time. So when you come back to the chatbot next time, they know what you had done last time, and they can start from there. They can understand you better, and they can deliver on-demand training material, common queries they can always ask and help. And I think the best thing is they can actually guide you to the right amount of, or the right content, or the right resource which you need at that point in time. You have to just talk to them in a normal language. That's where they're really becoming strong. Now, as I said, VR and AR have been there for a while, but you know kind of, I'm sure a lot of you would be getting mails and seeing a lot of content, and otherwise on maybe YouTube or other websites about the new tools available in the market, who can make you videos, who can make you pictures, photos. They can make your podcast script. They can recognize faces. They can take your face and put it into a different video. They can take an old picture of yours and create 20,000 options of that picture in different dress styles and in environments and contexts. So it become really, really strong. So if you mix this kind of power of AI with VR and AR, and you kind of bring that focus into the L&D, I think a lot of impressive thing can be done. Really, really engaging work could be delivered to the learners, and this can also be then personalized to the learners, based on how they've learned about about the learners. So I think the mix of AI with the VR and AR will help create very, very strong immersive and engaging learning experiences moving forward. And I think VR and AR, they've been there. I would say with the use of AI, VR and AR might become, I would say, more user friendly and easier to kind of work with in future, and also become maybe reasonably less expensive as we use these tools and technologies to make it quick to deliver and develop. I think Walmart's VR training program is a good example where I think these are we know a lot of these examples where VR tools are really VR and even AR tools are really helpful for onboarding, or like a physical space training or machine training. And Walmart's VR training program also kind of it helps them train in various departments. you know and if you, let's say, now mix AI with these programs, they can make it more flexible, natural, and also learner aligned. So instead of a fixed program, you create a base framework and let the program learn from the learners. And I think it'll create a very natural like environment for learners. And I think the usage will increase, and the benefits will also increase of such tools and technologies. So I think, of course, from data science and data analysis, AI has now kind of reached a point where it is more conversational and generative, and even adaptive to a large extent. So, and I think this is, of course, there's a constant debate about, generative AI replacing a lot of things moving forward. But if you look at it from the perspective of L&D, I think it can help us do our job and our work much, much faster and better. And, as I said, very smart chatbots, which are very conversational in nature. And also now you can use a number of tools to generate content with the help of the right prompts and the right information. And this not only just helps us create more interactive learning modules quickly and faster, but also a lot of other work like translations and localization, which we normally do for learning, can be automated. And even either do even and instead of doing automation pre-demand or pre-run, we can also do an on-demand automation of these activities. So like, a learner can just say, okay, show me this video in Spanish, or show me this video in French language, and tools can convert that on the fly, and use the material to deliver that. I think this kind of power is definitely going to be there. It is going to be used very, very aggressively moving forward in the L&D space. And of course, the adaptive AI platforms have been there for a long time. But the strengths of today's AI tools, it makes it really, really strong, very powerful. Where we can use a number of technologies now to assess performances, understand the context much faster. So I would say AI is going to revolutionize the way we deliver learning content, we create learning content, and I think it is a unique opportunity for us to be able to kind of come true to our promises of delivering a very personalized and democratic learning platforms to our end users, and give actual place the power in their hands to not just decide what they want to learn, but also help them along the way, learn from them, and then deliver better training content to them. So I think before we move forward, we have one last poll to run quickly. So what areas can AI benefit the most, L&D the most? That is the poll there, and we'll wait for the results. Right, so we have the results. I think the same as the last question. All of the above is about 85%, which is understandable and a very acceptable, and I would say expected response. And AI, and I think well, the poll does limit us to about 3 or 4 options, but AI has no limits right now. And I think one thing which we now realize is that AI, the kind of tools that they can create more tools of their own, and that is where I think we don't even see the possibilities as of now. And I would say, from a technical standpoint, from a promise standpoint of what AI can do, I think there's a lot to come, and it's really exciting to be in this age today. And for L&D, either for self development or skill development, or even for customer education, I think there's a lot of room for using AI in the right manner. Of course, it does come with its own set of caveats and risks, and it is not kind of free of concerns, ethical concerns, and privacy, bias, and accountability. There's a huge debate in the world today, and it's a right anxiety which even let's say I would have, or everybody has, about what is the role of humans in a few years when AI is going to become almost omnipresent and omniscient, to a large extent. And what will happen to businesses where you have multiple generations? Some of them will be AI almost natives, some of them may be AI struggling AI immigrants, but some of them may not even have that understanding of AI to a large extent. So, and not just AI. What about other technology and other things? So I think these a few questions are there which remain very active in our minds today. And the last question, I have seen this become very important. We were just having a discussion other day with a few head of HRs, and their main challenge they were saying was that whatever we implement as a technology, we now today has on an average at least three generations in our company. Key generation in our company, three generations in our company, which use that technology in a very different manner. And with the fourth generation coming in the next 2 3 years, which have a very different kind of exposure to technologies, their challenges remain very grave. That how will they manage such a multitude of, or a range of generations in a single workforce? So these are really critical questions to ask. And as we go, we keep learning from our customers, we keep learning from other people. So I think from my side, all I wanted to kind of cover today and bring to the table. I think we have about enough time for some questions and answers in the session today. But I'll just summarize very quickly. So we have discussed about the personalization of the learning and the use of AI, and it just started. So AI, what we see is, I think, the tip of the iceberg. It is a lot has to yet come, and they'll, of course, it'll be a very transformative kind of an outcome there. And we've also, while we do use AI in multiple forms, we have to be also very, very wary of its ethical concerns. So we have to build the right policies and the right strategies to use AI in a very ethical manner, and use it to help people upskill faster, create a learning culture, and also promote of course intergenerational collaboration from that perspective. So that's all from my side. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you found this session productive, and very happy to take your questions. Thank you so much.
All right. You did a great job covering everything, Amit. And folks, I've put a link to an exit survey in the chat area. When I close out the session, it is going to open in a new browser. So before you go into the next session, your feedback is important to Amit and to the folks at Invince and us at hr.com. So just take a moment to fill that out and enjoy the rest of the event. Take great care, everyone.